So I've been getting a lot of questions on what exactly Belarus and Russia's intentions with regard to Poland is, as well as what Wagner Group is doing, and all of this saber rattling coming from Lukashenko and Putin, both overt saber rattling and kind of somewhat of a subversive point of attack where they say things like Poland should be thankful it exists, or Lukashenko's having trouble holding back Wagner Group in his country, even though Wagner Group at best has 30,000 troops that are capable of fighting. More than likely, that's 30,000 troops in total globally, and they only have about 10,000 in Belarus. So I'll set the stage a bit for you guys before I talk about what exactly is going on and why Belarus and Russia are doing this. So obviously you see Belarus right here, and it borders Poland, which sits right here. And then Russia obviously is in this area here, and then you have a small portion of Russia in Kaliningrad right there. So you can kind of see how the geography, the map outlines. Now, there's a key piece of terrain that Russia wants to secure eventually. They won't, because right now NATO owns that land, and that is the Suwalki Gap, and that is this gap right here between Belarus, which is a Russian proxy, and Kaliningrad, which is Russian territory. The reason they want to secure this is because it grants access to the Baltic Sea, which at this point might as well just be called Lake NATO, and that kind of looks like a whale, so we'll put a smiley face on it. Anyways, so this is what we're looking at when it comes to the aims of what Russia wants to achieve. They want to secure Kaliningrad. They want to get rid of Poland, but let's be real, they can't do that. So when we look in this situation, we can see where exactly Wagner Group fighters are located. Well, currently they're located southeast of Minsk, roughly in this region right here. It's a town called Tcel, right in there. That's where their base is located. So this brings us to this helicopter incident between Belarus and Poland. And basically 2 helicopters crossed into Polish territory. This is according to Poland. Belarus is denying it. But it took place in a town called Grodki, which is right here. And what ended up happening is 2 Belarusian helicopters, there's training taking place along the border because it's escalatory. And don't worry about training along the border. NATO does it too. We train near Russia's border as well. Both countries do it. The difference is we do not, in NATO, do not cross into Russian territory, or Belarusian territory, more specifically. However, the Belarusian helicopters went in an arc, like so, and came back. And that is what took place. And again, it was a transport helicopter and an attack helicopter. They moved into Polish airspace, violating the airspace. And what this really is just another facet of Russia's escalate to de-escalate policy. This is something that Russia has done all over. They do it in Africa, specifically when it comes to where there's U.S. interests or U.S. operations, things like Syria and the Middle East. And they tend to, that's why they're buzzing U.S. drones in Syria, or they'll buzz U.S. drones in the Black Sea. They try to escalate this situation knowing full well that the U.S., when it's not harming an actual person, will not respond. Now, we will respond when there is potential harm to our soldiers, as Wagner Group in Syria experienced a few years back when they got absolutely smoked by U.S. special operators and the U.S. Air Force in the region. So this is a scenario that falls in line with the threatening nuclear weapons, buzzing U.S. drones, getting close to airspace to test the air defense identification zones, blockading Ukraine, putting nukes in Belarus, and it's all just escalate to de-escalate. And we know this because just in the last few hours, Putin has come out and said, I'll remove the nukes from Belarus if the U.S. removes its nukes from Europe. As you can see, it's a clear, I'm escalating the situation in order for me to gain some sort of leverage to de-escalate it overall. It's not going to work. The U.S. isn't going to budge on its nuclear weapons posture. It hasn't for decades. This is just more annoyances from Russia. Interestingly, Lukashenko may have different ideas for how Wagner Group is going to be used than Putin. Now that Wagner Group is in Belarusian territory and Lukashenko has gained control over them, he's looking at creating a contract army using the Wagner Group fighters as a base for that. And what a contract army is, it's not like mercenaries. A contract army is actually similar to what the U.S. uses. It's a volunteer army full of people that sign up and they become part of the military. The Belarusians and the Russians do not have a structure like this. They attempted a structure like this in the early 2000s and it failed miserably because lo and behold, no one wants to be in the Russian military voluntarily. So they have to conscript, and that is what takes place. Well, now that we have true contract soldiers, which are Wagner Group, but they're contracted as mercenaries in Belarus, Lukashenko is wanting to absorb them into the Belarusian military and create a contract volunteer military. It's not going to happen because, frankly, the Belarusian people do not like Lukashenko. He holds onto power under an iron fist, not under the will of the people, essentially. So with regard to Wagner, though, a lot of what's taking place in Niger affects Wagner Group because they used to be part of the rapid deployment forces that Russia used to influence and really just commit a bunch of atrocities in Africa. And the government of Niger and the government of Mali is requesting more Wagner forces to the country to help with the coup. And the issue for Wagner Group is they are not getting the okay from Lukashenko. Lukashenko has different ideas for them. What's happening is we're seeing Lukashenko push back a bit against Putin's will now that he sees he has Wagner Group in his territory. But the reality is they may not be getting more additional soldiers to Africa because Lukashenko wants Wagner Group to train up soldiers in Belarus as well as create this contract army. So that's kind of what's going on. Again, more escalate to de-escalate policy, more just annoyances coming out of Russia. Expect more of this to happen.